Hey everybody, just wanted to come to you real quick. I've actually got a whole bunch of things, cool announcements to talk about this week and next. But I want to show you a pool we're working on right now with a bill block forms. It was a monopore, has a ton of radius. You know, it's got a little lazy river here. It's going to have a bridge that goes to this little island. And then it's going to have like wedding cake style stairs going into the main body of the pool. It's just a 4-foot water depth pool throughout. I'll get into all the plumbing and how we're kind of creating the current and everything like that in future videos. But anyways, I want to go through all this as it goes. I'll show you how we form up those stairs because they're pretty intricate. Probably next week. We probably won't do it till next Monday. Obviously, this time of year in Missouri, we fight a lot of weather. We just got this done just in time for an inch of rain to fall last night. So it's all pretty flat. It's got all got about the same amount of water in it. That said, I will have a training announcement to make a week from this video. The following Sunday, like the weekend of the 15th, 16th of April, we'll be announcing a video, we'll be announcing a training. At that time, my assistant will be ready to start booking you guys. It'll be the last week of May or the first week of June. We haven't quite set the dates yet. We're just making sure everything's going to be good to go. We're going to be covering vinyl liners in some detail, and we are going to be covering monopores in great detail. We're actually going to do a monopore together, a very small monopore pool. We'll build it and pour it together, as well as going through a ton of concrete chemistry, liability, the works on the way we treat concrete and the way we do these. It's a little more of a tight curriculum than past ones where we've done training out on a existing job site. We will visit job sites that are done, look at different pools we've built. That pool that won pool of the year, we'll go visit that. But the actual core of the class is going to be a little more hands-on than it has been in the past. So I'm kind of excited about trying that out that way. I think it's going to be very, very good. But anyway, I'm going to take you guys back over to the shop, and we'll talk a little bit more about kits and finishes. We've got a different finish that we're going to start carrying for the monopores if eco becomes too high a barrier to entry for a guy that's only building 1 or 2 pools and doesn't want to either purchase a very expensive machine or try to talk a eco installer that considers them a competitor. We've run into that a little bit, so I'm going to give you guys the only thing that I think is a viable option that is of good enough quality. Okay guys, I'm going to try to be as quick as I can and cover a lot of ground now that I'm back over at the office. Talking about a couple of things. As soon as we started offering the one-sided forms with the kits, that opened up a whole nother avenue that people have been waiting on. If you're going into the business, because if you're just DIYing your own pool, I think there's other options. The one-sided forms are awesome. They're reusable. The only way they're really cost effective is if you reuse them. So I want to talk to you about the 3 main pool finishes we advocate. Obviously vinyl liner, if you're DIYing, is my preference. I like to see you guys succeed as easily as possible. A residential pool that's not getting used by dozens and dozens and dozens of people who just takes one jerk with a glass bottle or something to mess up a vinyl liner. It just cause problems. So that's where their limits are. They're not a commercial pool. They're a very good and cost-effective residential pool. That's always going to be my first recommendation. However, I have learned not to doubt you guys. The DIY community is strong and innovative. I mean, you look around on YouTube and you see guys building turbine engines for remote control planes these days. So I have no doubt you guys are capable of anything you've seen on my channel, DIYing it. That said, some of the other finishes are just a little bit more difficult and a little more hard to obtain. But getting into your plaster-based finishes and your eco finishes, we've really kind of transitioned into a one-sided form as our main recommended way to go. Although one of the finishes I'm going to talk about is very doable on 2 sides. But first off, you got your traditional plasters, and once you go to a one-sided form, they become available to you because you're having a monolithic pour. It's no different than a gunite shell. It's just a concrete single-piece pour, walls and floor. You can do a marble dust plaster, hydrazo, which is a quartz dust plaster, so it's a little less susceptible to pH swings because that quartz is better than marble in that way. And then you've got your PebbleTex, your exposed aggregate. Those aggregates are very pH neutral. so that the only thing that'll etch is the glue, the plaster that's holding those rocks together. Those are your traditional plasters. Obviously, PebbleTech has the brand recognition, and it's very, very good. Still not perfect. It's got the plaster that is, holding it together, that will etch and degrade over time in water chemistry. So that's why I love ecofinish, guys. It's a thermoplastic. It's 100% pH neutral, UV stable, and just very, very good. It's not susceptible to any of those things. And ecofinish is enthusiastically endorsed the one-sided forms because it's just direct to concrete. It is literally, out of all the approved installation substrates, whether that be fiberglass, metal, old plaster, concrete's the best because it has no layers to fail. So they love that. That said, ecofinish is an expensive machine. And if you don't own one, you have to find someone that will do it for you. And a lot of my guys that I've kind of trained and have gotten into the business, depending on what market you are, some of those finishers are enthusiastic to get more business. Some of them are pool builders who bought an ecofinish machine to kind of have the proprietary or, have the best of the best finish equipment in their market. And they sort of use it as a cudgel to make the people use them to build their pool, and they won't ecofinish. I was kind of surprised by that because I feel like it's short-sighted, but I've had a couple trainees up in New England that their ecofinish, installer in their market was resistant to do their pools simply because they were competition, not because of the way they build their pool or anything. And I was kind of like, a little bit taken aback by that. And so if you don't want to buy a very expensive machine and get into that, at least at first, I think there's a very viable alternative that a lot of people that are already wanting a PebbleTech or, really elite level plaster finish, we have started to distribute a product called Skin Microplaster. Skin Microplaster it goes on basecrete substrate. Like I said, you've heard me talk about different cretes and my issues with them. And this product has solved most of those issues. It uses the basecrete glue, but it is a ceramic microbead that's impregnated with colors to get you the different color plasters. But that ceramic is impervious to pH. It's a true waterproof, vapor-proof membrane. And it's smoother than any of the other plasters I've felt. It is incredible because it's microbeads. It is very smooth. But the true waterproof, vapor-proof thing is something that none of the other ones have achieved in my experience. And they also are honest. They don't promote their product as DIY-able. Not to say you can't DIY it. We're distributing it, but we recommend that you get a guy that knows plaster or mason, got some skill on a trowel. The finish is only going to be as good as you are as far as the look of it. It'll be waterproof, but it may look a little bad. The pot life is short. You got to be quick. You got to keep moving. That's true with all of these plaster products. And that's why I get a little bit annoyed when the guys are showing mom and pop out there rolling it on and making it look good in an afternoon. They refinish their pool and save 20 grand. That's not reality as I have experienced it. Getting into that, you can do Skin Microplaster on a two-sided form. So if you've got a curved pool like the one I just took you from, it's a great option because you don't have to peel the ICF off because you really can't do the single-sided form when you have curves. Also, if you have just, a hang-up about spending the money on ecofinish, I'm an ecofinish guy through and through. I think it's great and it's well worth the money to get involved in, but it can be a barrier to entry when you're first getting into the business. And I think if you're going to get into plasters, the Skin Microplaster is the thing. I mean, it's only been in the US for a short time. It's been in Europe for several years, and it's already like on the search engines and everything else. It's taking over. I'll link the website here, but I mean, it comes up before PebbleTech, which PebbleTech has been around for years and years and years and is the flagship of finishes in the traditional gunite market. And this stuff is just taking over quickly. I'm excited to have it as an offering when I'm selling these pool kits. We got into the one-sided forms recently. We sell Build Block, which this is the little hard wall connector. This is the Nudura connector. And these basically replace the ICF on the inside and go direct to plywood. Then when you strip the plywood, you have a nice concrete substrate with just little tie holes to address, which, like I said, opens up the world of commercial pools simpler. But if, you have to spend a little extra money on the plywood to get involved. The Nudura plywood, I'm not a fan of. The Build Block, they don't really care about being in the plywood business. And so we have started fabricating plywood direct for our kits for Build Block and Nudura, where we make them out of Eagle HDO, high density overlay form plywood. Just to put that in perspective, I've been using some HDO, this exact same brand, for architectural walls since 2017, and I'm still using the same forms. And they're getting weathered, but I've used them dozens of times. And that, so you spend an extra $5,000 or $6,000 on a kit to do a monopore with hardwall. Now you get into pool building and you've got now the next kit, you already have that $5,000 or $6,000 extra dollars, and you're using half the foam because you're not using foam on the inside. It actually makes it a cheaper kit on pool 2, 3, 4 down the road. You'll replace a few panels each time, because if you're cutting up a rake, you're slicing 6 or 7 of the 150 we sell you get ruined each pool. But that's 3 or 4% of your forms that you're replacing each time. So that has become a really, really big deal. I think in one of my videos coming up, I'm going to get into why I like our freestanding hot tubs. Obviously, we sell Northern Bay, but any freestanding hot tub, as opposed to trying to fit a bunch of these jets into an ICF wall and do all that plumbing, it's not super DIY friendly. And going to get into that. But next week, I'm going to do a detailed video about the training I've got coming up. I am more stoked about that training than I have been in a long time, because it's going to be completely hands-on. I've wanted to do more hands-on with you guys, but we'll do troubleshooting, and we're going to build a small monopore together, and we'll drop a vinyl liner, a small vinyl liner that's already that's there for training purposes. And we're going to get a lot into concrete liability, concrete chemistry, concrete testing, and do some site visits where we go out. We're going to go look at that pool, that one pool of the year, a couple other pools, get into equipment, how it works, how it operates. The sky's the limit with some of the automation anymore, guys. But also there's a lot to be said for keeping it simple. But with that, I'm going to, like I said, guys, we're going to really get into ecofinish and the microplaster. I think that they both fit different applications really well. The skin guys are really motivated to take over the plaster game, and I think the product has the quality to do that. Ecofinish is kind of its own thing. It's a novel approach. There's tons of guys that have tried to copy them with polyureas and different things. Even Line-X and all these guys have tried to get involved. Nobody else has solved that riddle to make it such a durable finish as Eco, as far as the plastics side. But for plaster, I think skin has taken over the game. You can email me or text me. My phone number is always at the end of the video, but you can email me at support@icfguru.com. For the training, especially if you want to get on the list to be contacted before my video next week, hit me up at support@icfguru.com. Jess will send you the info a few days ahead of the announcement, so you'll have first dibs at getting signed up. Also, if you're wanting skin information, like I said, we have an order. We're putting in an order on Monday. It's such a new product, and it's taken off so fast in the U.S. Like I said, it's existed over in Italy and in Europe for years and years, but we're just getting it in the U.S., and it's still a little bit hard to get a hold of, but that's going to be, getting caught up quickly. Like I said, we have an order coming in a couple weeks, and then it may be, mid-June before we get any more. I've talked fast because I wanted to cover a lot of ground, but like I said, guys, everything is kind of coming together in a lot of ways. We're moving tons of kits every week right now. It's kind of that rushed season for pools that I warned you guys about, but so far, all the equipment's keeping up. Obviously, we have the ICF supplies. We're never going to run short of those ever again. But the pool supplies I had worried about, so far so good. But if you're going to try to build one this year, hit me up, because tend to in the middle of the summer, something runs short. And so far, Roast has done a great job of staying ahead of that and keeping supplied. But you never know. So hit me up. Like I said, support@icfguru.com. Shoot me an email, and I will get you a quote sent out on whatever that product may be. So without further ado, I'll see you guys next week.